Hi. Our video cut out for a minute, but I think we are back. And I'm going to get Oscar back. Okay. Let's see. And we're back. We'll give that another go. Let's see. um, Oscar was going to sign out and sign himself back in too. Hopefully, momentarily, we'll be back up and running. It's ironic. We're talking about how all of these things. There's Oscar. There he is. Okay, letting him back in. Okay. There you are. We'll give him a minute to get all connected and going. Okay, we're back. Sorry about that. I don't know what happened. It told me the video was paused and then it just stopped the video.
Yeah,
But we are still going.
yeah,
We're back.
we're we're here now. Um, yeah, so
About
I'm
this entropy or opposite of entropy.
yeah, I mean obviously it's an entropic moment because it collapses and there's a loss of energy in the context of what has has been the case or what has been true to in the context of movement and production and so on and distribution and traveling thinking shows and so on, and that obviously is an entropic moment because it collapses that reality. uh, Obviously then we enter a fruitful moment and where in the context of let's say the art industry, if we can be
Yep.
very direct about it, um, that there is a moment of recharge renewal. I'm talking about it in my position as an artist, who's then able to focus on certain things. So far, really, it hasn't really been so much about being in the studio and making paintings or making work. It's been somehow much more a socially um, aware moment of knowing where I find myself, being aware of the needs of my community and offering myself to be a helping hand,
Yeah.
and that has come with also a beautiful context of being in a place that is so far has been relatively safe, where I can, where we don't have to be confined to an apartment. There are restrictions, of course, but from a very simple uh, uh, kind of lifestyle context, it's very has been very positive.
And do
And I
you?
was also say, yeah.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, no, I no, go ahead.
I
Continue.
think that idea that you're talking about as a kind of reset or a like a recharge moment and a kind of refocusing, I think is something that I mean it certainly resonates with me. I imagine it may resonate with other people as well, but that it's like we're having such a it's like an outside event is kind of affecting so many people and causing us all to have to do this reset that I think you're making the point about like the art world especially has this very kind of fast-paced traveling international aspect to it, and when that has to be paused and you have to stay in one place or you have to be looking at your work differently, I also can't predict what's going to come next, but it is really, I do think that's an interesting thing happening right now is it's making everybody, I think, kind of refocus on what is important um, in different
Yeah,
ways.
I mean, I think important maybe Uh, I mean, it has stripped, life to the bare necessity,
Hmm.
where one has to just really think about survival. We're here, just everybody here is here thinking as best as they can. How can we just stay alive? Because it's there's a precarity to how we were, or, a lot of us, moving around, flying, or, even if the individuals that, were simply working in a plaza, selling fruit and vegetables. So there is a kind of uh, uh, you, a collapse of just things being stripped to the essential of what it means to stay alive, um, and that obviously is traumatic for a lot of people. Particularly because if in the context of the metropolis or the urban, context, if you lived in New York or London, and your life was very much about the social and very much engaged, particularly in those societies where life indeed is, living in New York. I mean, rarely anybody who lived in New York will stay, if there is a desire to go away, or to have, let's say, time off, you will go somewhere else. You wouldn't
Hmm.
stay in New York City.
Right.
Um, and the truth is that, that in position, of like you have to stay in an apartment, it can be seen as a traumatic one. So it's a very tough, traumatic reality. Um, I think for me personally, I'm not even thinking. It makes me think of what's important. I haven't seen my kids for almost 3 months. So it's, from that perspective, there is that to deal with. And they're important in my life,
Or
as is, my career as an artist, and also just me as an artist. So it's there isn't this kind of like full moment where I'm just simply saying, this is fantastic. I'm here. It is kind of in the context of what's happening, of course. It is wonderful that I am, that I'm able to, exercise my body, and I'm eating relatively well, and I have a bunch of friends that I can hang out with, and it be safe. The weather's nice because it's very hot here, and so on. Um, and then we'll see. We'll see. I think as we are given some kind of mobility again, we'll see, how that gets picked up. I'm sure a lot of people will be raring to go again, and to say, okay, like, let's not be sentimental about this. I'm ready to jump on a plane and like go,
yeah.
you know, you know, like go on, on the other side of the world, and so on. So it's like, and I think obviously, there are those of us who are thinking, like we're like working remotely, and actually I don't want to like travel so much anymore, and galleries, from a commercial perspective, are like implementing initiatives to see if they can continue to do business online and so on.
Mhm.
So everybody's trying to like to make things work, or like to adjust, but it doesn't mean that it's like it's going to stay this way. um and I'm not going to speculate for or against. I think it's just we're writing it out, and we'll see where it takes, where it goes.
Yeah, and there is, it's like you're right. It's like it's not about, a kind of either or a, yes important, no, not important kind of
Mm,
binary. It's like, we are all stuck in these places, and there are some advantages to that and some disadvantages to that in varying combinations for everybody.
yeah.
Um, and I do think it is, you were saying earlier in our conversation today about how we're going on, it's kind of 3 months or so of this for chunks of the world. Um, and, it's one thing if it's sort of like you have to stay in place for a week. or you have to stay in place for 2 weeks, or you have to stay in place even for 1 month. But then when it kind of goes on long enough that you can't just keep your entire life on pause, you have to be doing something with the situation that you're in and trying to make the best of what you can. Or at least that's kind of where I feel like I have been. It's like you're it's encouraging to me to hear you being able to identify the nice things about the situation that you're in, even if it's not one that you would have that you would have chosen, or that connects you to the important things in your life that you know, your kids and your career. And um,
Yeah,
I do think it's easy to get really sunk in the sad parts.
yeah, yeah. I mean, also because, people are obviously, negatively affected and, and are suffering and so on. But, people, I mean, not to be flippant or to be kind of tongue in cheek. No, it's not tongue in cheek really, but like, people have, die of hunger on a daily basis. Like it's not, I mean, I'm not, this is horrible what's happening. People, like protesting because they simply can't eat in some parts of the world. Or this idea of, like isolation, it's a privilege, where in parts of Asia, places like India and so on, the idea of being isolation is a privilege because, people effectively have it, the city in its existence is a 24-hour city. So, people live a transitional life, not in a kind of context of privilege, but in the context of like the heavy working classes, having to commute for hours and on end. So it's like the world has been, it's how can you accommodate your situation to a point of advantage.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, it's a negotiation. I I managed to get here simply because it was easy. It was easy, and and I think in hindsight, I think I with calculating the losses of not seeing my children and so on and so on. It proves to be a relatively good choice,
Yeah.
um, because it's here I at least I'm able to look after myself and stay healthy, more in the mental context,
Yeah.
where this situation has really helped me to, like I said, recharge, to to take stock, to connect with other people that I usually wouldn't. I'm actually very busy, um, working within the very you know translocal reality of being here in La Paila and being active in the community. I'm really not looking at my email so much, um, and I think this kind of pockets of engagement, as we're doing right now, it's a it takes me out. When we finish this conversation, I'll take my headphones off, and then I'm gonna be, it's Friday evening here, and we'll, uh, you know, my friends are waiting for me because they want, to have some, like fried food and so on. So you'll be, it'll be a different, yeah, and it's beautiful, and I think that's kind of what the world has given us, this kind of like ability, to connect, and I think that's still very much there. Um, it is absolutely bizarre what's happening. That some a friend of mine sent me a picture of a plane. He was on the plane, and then he's and he videoed another plane, and this was months ago. I think it was last year, and and I said, like old school, like, oh, this is old school. Uh,
I know it feels so far away,
um,
doesn't it? The
yeah.
idea of ever
So
traveling that way. But I will say, I do think it's like in this situation, we all have to look in our immediate surroundings for whatever combination of relief or reset or recharge we can find. You know, we don't have that option to, like you were saying before, it's like, well, if you lived in New York, you could take your time off and then go travel somewhere else. And now that's not an option in the same way. So
Yeah,
I don't know what's going to come out of that. Like, will that change kind of people's vacation patterns going forward? Or I don't know. I'm curious to see.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I mean, also one has to also, I mean, I think I'm also aware that, for example, you know, politically, just to kind of divert a little bit, you know, this, you know, this situation is also, let's not just think of it, you know, like this, you know, it's being used as a kind of small screen, you know, for other things, you know, around the world to kind of, you know, take place, you know, in the context of aggression, in the context of, um, how certain societies around the world are being, you know, oppressed. Um, so it's, you know, like one has to be alert in a way, you know,
Yeah.
um, and I don't, you know, I mean, I personally haven't really taken a holiday, and so in a way, hence why I feel that this is a really beautiful moment, where I can, you know, think about myself and my well-being,
Yeah.
uh, with the awareness that requires. So and yeah, it's you know, we'll see.
I agree. I mean, I feel like that it's like I have so many conversations with people where people seem to want to be like concluding something or predicting something or taking an action for the future. But I feel like what you just said, it's like, we'll see, is kind of the
Yeah,
space that we all are in various ways. And there's no neat conclusion to what things will look like in the future or
no,
how all of
no,
our work will.
far from it.
We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah,
Maybe that's actually kind of a I sort of love that as maybe there's a note we can end on unless you had a thought that you wanted to share.
no, I mean, I think, to just like disconnect, you know, like I was thinking, you know, like we then, like, we immediately, like, um you know, went on this default, like we transitioned into this default need to, like, communicate again, you know, to like, okay, how can we, like, you know, stay connected? And, you know, we began to do a lot of these programs, you know, these online things, um and and I was thinking, you know, today that I actually maybe not to engage so much and to actually just like hide, you know, into our own reality, into our
Yeah.
own realities,
Yeah, I do
you
think
know.
it's like, and I find at least for me that changes like day to day, week to week, how much I have the attention or energy or interest to engage online versus how much I just want to do the basics that I need to do and then just be quiet and by myself.
Yeah, because I feel, I mean, I guess, being here so, like, present physically, and this to me is like a nice, you know, even if I'm in my parents' living room, like, it's a nice kind of, oh, let me jump out, um, for, you know, however long we will continue to have this conversation. But then I think, oh, you know, what if I just completely, just like, which I am in a way, you know, like, just like sink and stay and, like, you know, maybe just work. Again, this is, you know, me being an artist. I'm really kind of, you know, okay, I'm going to fully embrace this, and something that I've always just been so active and, showing every year and doing shows and doing projects and being, and I think while of course there is the desire to continue and to try and like, create content, uh, that perhaps I would just, like use the fact that I'm, in a remote part of Colombia as an excuse, like to say my Wi-Fi is, I don't have any Wi-Fi.
Yeah. You can always use connection troubles right now.
Exactly. It's really bad, internet connection. I can't.
Well, I do,
So
but I feel like maybe that is kind of like a nice like message for sending folks into the weekend is to like try and take time if your life and current circumstances allow to really focus on being present where you are and you know, not trying to force
um,
connect to the whole world all at once.
yeah, no, I mean, my dear friend, Luther, who's in New York and he runs a print shop, and and I was just about to type. I think he's still online,
Mhm.
and and we're in like May, and this was like my time in New York. Like I will come, like May, and the summer in New York, and I'll be working with Luther in the print shop, um, because I love like the heat. So New York this time of year is kind of amazing, and so that again to go back to trying to like that was kind of part of my my life to have that kind of um, like diverse existence and yeah, like and this is a good opportunity now. I'm gonna call Luther and maybe we can do some work remotely. I'm not sure if he's able to do, but um,
Well, and maybe it'll work, or maybe you save it
yeah,
for a future project when you can be together in
yeah,
again.
yeah.
I
But again, that's in a way what I'm saying. It's it's to me like I'm kind of like 10 years ago, again, to go back to the beginning, I said, well, my this is what I see, and within the context of like the organic and strategy, I was able to to put together the practice that I had been kind of carrying out, um, and then um, like I don't know, this is like let's call it a pause of 3 months. It might
yeah.
be a pause of a year, or it might be a pause of 2 years. I don't know. But in the meantime, like I'm here, and like say for example, distribution is something that I had that has been very important to me. Distribution in the context of like being able to ship things around the world.
Yeah.
And how I've been moving my work around has been very much embedded in that. Like I still FedEx my work around. Like I don't, regardless of let's say how professionalized my engagements have been. I mean, when we did the show in November, all my work arrived FedEx,
Right.
folded, not because of any like financial concerns, but it was really just how I work. And like, I obviously I am prioritizing time. I want to be able to have my work, in the studio for the longest possible time. And so if I'm going to FedEx something, it's going to take, FedEx from London to the US takes about a week.
Mhm.
Um, and so I said, well, that gives me 2 more weeks to work in the studio instead of like, instead of like a month less.
Right.
Um, and then I guess in the context of being here, distribution might help just to like stay here, and and then I can work with Luther, remotely.
Yeah.
So like it's just a negotiation, and I think again, as artists, like perhaps this is the best time, where where we have more choice in a way, ironically.
Yeah.
Whether you're like whether you're a selling artist or not, of course that has its own um, it will have its own consequences. They differ from individual to individual.
Yeah.
Um,
But it is,
you
it's
know,
like a kind of enforced pause where you have to sort of recalibrate or reset some of those
yeah,
that you think about going about.
exactly,
Well,
exactly, and that's
yeah, I mean, I feel like that's the moment that we're all in, and I do hope that for people who are watching or people who are able to and have the privilege and the opportunity to find some silver linings about this or the things that make it feel like it can be a recharge. Um, I hope everyone is able to do that. I hope you are able to get outside into your nice, hot, beautiful weather this weekend.
oh my God, it's amazing. I'm like you know I lost some weight. I'm like more tanned.
You're
Um,
super fit and eating healthy and
uh, yeah, so like it's great for the body.
okay. Well, thank you for coming and sharing thoughts. I think we're going to wrap up because I do just want to make sure. I know a couple people in the feed have asked about like questions and have had some really beautiful comments, and I do thank everybody for sharing those. I think just for the sake of time, because it is, everyone heading into their weekend at this point, and I want everyone to kind of have the chance to do that. But I do want to thank you so much, Oscar, and it was really wonderful to be able to connect from one mountain valley to another, from
Exactly.
Aspen to La
Great
Paila.
to know. Yeah. It's been fun, and obviously, thank you for the invitation. I'm very pleased that my show is at the museum.
I
I look
think that
forward to,
we'll get to
you know,
have it some more.
yeah, I'm looking forward to coming to Aspen, in the months to come. I'm precisely fond of Aspen because of its nature, its beautiful nature. Um,
I hope we get
and
to have the next stage of this conversation face to face.
Yeah, I think it'll be possible.
It
I'll stay very optimistic.
okay. Well, thank
Yeah,
you, Oscar. And thank you, everybody.
no, and have a wonderful weekend.
You too. All right. Bye.